Well, hello everybody. How's it going so far? My name is Lamar Matthews, and I've been given the honor of serving as the honorary chair tonight. The reasons for that escape me, except all I can say is I'm grateful. And I do want to say that I suspect there are a couple of reasons I'd like to discuss briefly to honor two people that have been important in my life. The question in life, I believe, for everyone is, who do you seek to mentor you, and who seeks you in return? I had two individuals in my life that honored me with reciprocating in my interest in them helping me. One at the very beginning of my career when I was a junior high person in Bradenton, Florida, and one near the end of my career, which is not yet, but coming soon at some point. Those two individuals each entered my life with working their entire lives for the kind of community we advocate and collaborate tonight. My beliefs in this regard are the product of what they taught me and what they've done for me and asked me to do for everyone. The first person I met when I was a junior high student in a Baptist church in Bradenton, Florida, was Ed H. Price, Jr. Many of you know him. My teenage years growing up, high school, college, law school, and almost all of the 54 years of my practice of law in Sarasota, Manatee, and DeSoto counties, he had been my mentor, guide, and person I looked to for advice in how to live a life. His death in February the 1st of 2012 was just one 30-day period short of his 95th birthday, and his influence continues in my life. The second person I met very recently, 6 or 7 years ago, his name, he's already been on the board tonight, is Steve Seidensticker. In recent years, through his leadership as president of the Jewish Federation for Children and Families, its first non-Jewish president, the work in Newtown and then revising the economic structure of that community, in the homeless veterans stand down initiative that was in the paper just yesterday, and in more ways than you could ever enumerate, he has showed me the way that living a life is reaching out to others. I'm honored for both of them and to both of them, and for the beliefs I have tonight and why I believe I'm standing here as your honorary chairman. So with that said, let me welcome you to We Are All Sarasota. We promise you a very special evening that will tell the compelling story of our nation's and Sarasota's diversity through a combination of video, drama, song, and dance. This was a terrific undertaking. It first started as an idea of Charles Williams and Charlie Ann Seipert in 2012. They went to Nate Jacobs. That's Nate Jacobs. You heard of him? Yeah. And Dr. Rachel Shelley. And put on a program in the fall of 2012 that left Sarasota absolutely spellbound. Well, folks, they've done it again. The members of the Sarasota County Bar Association Diversity and Inclusion Committee, partners West Coast Black Theater Troupe and Booker High School, a true community collaboration, all work together to take this small idea from 2012 and turn it into the fabulous performance you're about to see. Judges, lawyers, members of the troupe, plus their incredibly talented production team, students, teachers, multiple nonprofits, all working together to deliver a spellbinding performance tonight. A performance with a powerful message. Listen carefully. What is that message for all of us? Inclusiveness is a good thing. Diversity is a good thing. Understanding is a good thing. Respect for others is a good thing. And yes, working together is what? A good thing. Thank you for listening. I want to give a shout out to all the students, teachers, and parents who are here tonight. So many schools represented. I can't see you, but you'll be seen with your voices. Booker High School. Anybody here from Booker High School? I think they showed up. Riverview High School is here. Sarasota High School. Venice High School. All right, Venice. Northport High School. Pineview High School. Sarasota Middle School. Booker Middle. Pineview Middle. Welcome to all of you. You're in for a real treat. Now, it's my honor, high honor and personal pleasure to introduce you to the leaders of the pack. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Judge Charles Williams, Chief Judge of the 12th Judicial Circuit of the state of Florida, and Charlie Ann Seipert, Chair of the Sarasota County Bar Association Diversity and Inclusion Committee. They're the bosses. Here they come. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. We brought this show back by popular demand. Now more than ever, I think we need to explore what the Constitution is all about and what this country and this community is all about. So I personally want to thank all of you for coming out, and I'd like to now introduce Charlie Ann Seipert, who is our co-chair.
Well, Lamar did such a good job that I want to get right on with the show, but I do have somebody who truly is Sarasota that I want to bring out. Mayor Shelley Eddy. Shelley Freeland Eddy.
Good evening. City of Sarasota Proclamation. Whereas We Are Sarasota is a compelling story of Sarasota's growing diversity as told through courtroom drama, multimedia, song and dance with the combined talents of the West Coast Black Theater Troupe, Booker High School students, Manatee Educational Television, and the Sarasota County Bar Association's Diversity Committee. And whereas this timely, friendly, family-friendly lesson in legal history is informative and takes you on a journey from the segregated Sarasota of the 1950s to the current vibrant and diverse community we are today. And whereas most of the profound changes in American society began with changes in the American legal system, it's about the power of the law to transform our society and the potential of our future lawyers to be the change they want to see. And whereas We Are Sarasota wants to show young people how the legal system can be a vehicle for social change, and to bring that lesson home, judges and lawyers have taught a series of classes to area schools. Now, therefore, the City Commission of the City of Sarasota, Florida, and on behalf of our citizens of this wonderful community, we take great pride in recognizing April 30th, 2018 as We Are Sarasota Day, a day of special importance and worthy of the recognition of the citizens of the City of Sarasota. Congratulations.
You know, although the primary purpose of We Are Sarasota was to demonstrate to all of you, to provide you with a vivid and compelling picture of the role that our civil rights history played in making Sarasota the rich, diverse, and multicultural community that it is today, we also wanted to show loud and clear, look what we can do when we work together. Look at this room. Helen Keller said, "Alone we can do little, but together we can do so much." And so that is, we are Sarasota. The Bar Association, West Coast Black Theater Troupe, and Booker High School, we've had a long history of shared values, shared dreams, shared hopes. We have a long tradition of collaboration. We really work together as a team. So please join me in welcoming our treasured partners and collaborators, Dr. Rachel Shelley and Julie Leach.
I can't see you, but I can definitely hear all of the amazing students that are here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this wonderful event tonight. It is an honor and a privilege, again, to partner with the Bar Association Diversity Committee and West Coast Black Theater Troupe. Booker High School boasts one of only 2 full comprehensive law programs in the state of Florida with a full courtroom, and we're very excited about that. Our law students participate in extracurricular activities to support their curriculum and coursework. Some of these activities include the cadet program as well as the mock trial. I am very excited that tonight we have our Law Academy students here and their teachers, so thank you for being here. In addition to our Law Academy, we are so very proud of our Visual Performing Arts program. It is rivaled by absolutely none. Our students, absolutely. Our students come from all over Sarasota County because they know we offer an intense and unique high-level program. Tonight, you will see some of our VPA Theater and dance students perform, and I know you're going to be mesmerized by their talent. Your support of tonight's program will enable Booker High School to enhance our VPA and Law Academy programs and assist in our mission to make sure that our students graduate college and career and become productive members of our society. And for that, I am so grateful and thank you. Enjoy.
Good evening. I'm Julie Leach. I'm the Executive Director at West Coast Black Theater Troupe. When Charlie Ann and Judge Williams asked Nate Jacobs, WBTT's amazing founder and artistic director, and me, if we would like to bring back We Are Sarasota with them, we said yes. Yes. Because the message of tonight's performance truly represents our mission, the mission of WBTT. And it provides the perfect context to showcase the powerful African American music that has sustained the community throughout the struggles for civil rights. Tonight you will see Nate Jacobs and members of our troupe and members of our Stage of Discovery summer program for youth at their finest. And Nate and I give you our personal thanks to everyone in this room. Because of you, WBTT will continue to create and produce professional quality theater that speaks the message of diversity and inclusion through African American culture and experience. And we will be able to grow our highly acclaimed education programs now located in our newly renovated Education and Outreach Center on our campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. I know this is the part everybody complains about, but we have to thank the people who made it possible. Because when I told you it took a team, it not only took a team of worker bees, but it took a team with checkbooks. So I want to thank tonight's sponsors, because without your generosity, we couldn't do what we're doing tonight. Without people willing to open up their pocketbooks, we could not bring over 600 students here tonight free of charge and provide free buses. Thank you, embracing our differences. So I want to, and what's really nice is our sponsors are veterans. I want to recognize Ask Gary, Gary and his beautiful wife, Beth Kampathakris. We are our first sponsors in 2012, and they're back again. We have, oh God, you can tell I'm exhausted. Grossman, Roth, and Partridge. Bill Partridge is backstage. The Sarasota Herald Tribune, who I made crazy, forgive me for that. A new sponsor, Schutz and Bowen. Thank you, John Patterson, from the bottom of our heart. And there's one very important sponsor, and you're going to see him in the cast, and that's Chip Gaylor, who is the president of our Bar Association. And last but not least is the law firm of Seipert Meshad, my husband's former firm. And Charles, indulge me. I've been working so hard that I forgot our 21st anniversary. Happy anniversary, Jim. It's the best I can do this year. But I also want to recognize some people who went out and way out and above to help us bring these students. Two of the most dedicated community leaders, Cy and Shelley Goldblatt. They're just amazing. I took them to lunch, didn't bat an eyelash, and said, I need some money. And the next day he called and said, I'm going to give you some money. So thank you. All you kids up there, thank Cy and Shelley. The Bill Johnston Foundation, Brock and Julie Leach, and one of our most favorite people to work with, Sarah Wertheimer from Embracing Our Differences. Thank you, Sarah. So finally, I do also want to echo Lamar Matthews' recognition of Stephen Seidensticker. He could not be here tonight with us, but I hope you enjoyed all the food from Miss Susie's if you had the privilege of attending the reception. Steve signed on without hesitation early on, and I am thrilled to share with you his son Patrick is in law school at one of our partners, Stetson University College of Law, so thank you. Okay. Next, I want to introduce you to a woman who's a friend of mine, and whenever I get one of my wacko ideas in the middle of the night, I call Kelly and I say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. And if she says it's a good idea, okay, I'll run with it. If she tells me to go get a book, I leave it alone. So in 2012, after reading an article in Sarasota Magazine about the beach boycott, I said, Kelly, we have to do this. And the rest is history. So please join me in welcoming Kelly Lavin, the publisher of Sarasota Magazine.
6 years ago, when Sarasota Magazine was asked to sponsor the first We Are Sarasota, as Charlie Ann said, we immediately said, of course. A year ago, when Sarasota was asked to sponsor tonight's event, we said, we must. Now more than ever, We Are Sarasota pushes us to not just examine the past, our community's past, but it pushes us to understand and to celebrate our differences. For it has been said that it is not our differences that divide us, it is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate these differences that pulls us apart. Over the past 39, almost 40 years next year, Sarasota Magazine has been committed to this examination, the recognition, and the celebration of the community that we all call home. So on behalf of the entire Sarasota Magazine team, we are proud and honored once again to be sponsors of We Are Sarasota. Thank you.
And now it is my honor to represent to you the backbone of our student effort. I met Roxy when she first came to town, and I was just so blown away by her unyielding commitment to our community's students and schools. So when you get done thanking Cy and Shelley Goldblatt, find Roxy Jurdy and say thank you, because the Community Foundation of Sarasota County has been our biggest sponsor in 2012 and today. So Roxy, please join us.
I have 1 minute, so it's going to be quick. Thank you, Charlie Ann, and gosh, congratulations to the Sarasota County Bar Association Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Booker High School. I know they're out there cheering away, and West Coast Black Theater Troupe for restaging this important We Are Sarasota. At the Community Foundation of Sarasota County, we truly believe that each one of us, every single one of us, has the ability to impact another person, a cause, a community. This is a philosophy that has been inspired by the thousands of examples of its merit done by people involved in the civil rights movement, with Dr. Martin Luther King being a shining example. Through the lessons learned from Dr. King and others, we learned that philanthropy, like activism, requires direct and compassionate involvement with people, communities, and problems at hand, and a complex understanding of our interconnectedness. For these reasons, the Community Foundation said yes when Charlie Ann called to underwrite the 600-plus tickets for students from our area high schools. Woohoo! We knew how important it was that they would have the opportunity to learn about civil rights in our country and the parallel happenings in our very own community. And I have one little reminder. Does anybody know what happens at noon tomorrow? We got a giving challenge starting. So we are so proud to be presenting the giving challenge tomorrow. And with all donations being matched by our incredible partner, the Patterson Foundation, up to $100 per person, per organization. I know we're in for a banner showing of our community's giving heart and generosity. So give away tomorrow and enjoy the marvelous, marvelous presentation tonight. Thank you.
Many of the scenes that you're going to see tonight were responsible for our civil rights advancements. The reason that those scenes are very important is that lawyers led the effort. Lawyers have always stepped up to the plate when needed, and tonight is no exception. One of our sponsors, Herb Hoffman, happens to be a personal friend of mine and someone who has been there whenever we have needed them, been there for us to support We Are Sarasota, stands for inclusion, stands for up for all the things that are good and right. So at this time, I would like to introduce Herb Hoffman. Herb.
Good evening, Sarasota. Can you feel the electricity in the air tonight? You are in store for an amazing presentation. I am Herb Hoffman, and I'm managing partner of Morgan & Morgan Sarasota firm. I grew up in Sarasota, and for almost 20 years now I've worked with John, and I can't tell you how proud we are to be the presenting sponsor of tonight's event, which quite frankly became a natural partnership with our firm. I'm sure you've heard of our firm, but I'd like to tell you just a few points as to why we really do live and breathe what you will hear this evening. You know, Morgan & Morgan is a national personal injury law firm dedicated to protecting the people, not the powerful. John Morgan founded the firm in 1988, and the original office was in Orlando, Florida. He started with 3 lawyers, 2 paralegals, and a receptionist. In the past 3 decades, we've opened offices across the state of Florida and Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana. With more than 350 lawyers, 305 paralegals, and a support staff of more than 2,000 employees, our firm has helped over 100,000 people nationwide. The nature of our service requires understanding, accepting, and valuing differences among people. Our firm's philosophy has been to embrace the different races, ethnicities, genders, ages, religions, disability, and sexual orientations. And with a firm over 2,000 people, we have the opportunity to do that. By combining different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, we have created a synergistic effect and exponential results. Our continuing battle for every individual has allowed progress to be made protecting friends, family, and strangers while defending individuals' rights. Our fight is for every person, and our cause aligns with the foundation presented by tonight's event. Protecting the people, it's a business philosophy for us, but it's also a way of life. We are for the people, and we are Sarasota. Thank you.
I promise you this is the last, but actually I saved the most important for last. In 2012, we were privileged to have the very first African American president of the Florida Bar come and check us out. The rumor was that Sarasota's Bar Association, we were doing some really great things. So Gene Pettis, the president of the bar, came down to see what we were doing, and he was blown away. Well, the Florida Bar's mission to promote diversity and inclusion has grown and grown. And you know that old adage, it starts at the top? This year's president of the Florida Bar I think he's going to move to Sarasota. We gave him a tour of the Booker High School Law Academy today, and he was so blown away. His words were, "I'm jealous. I'm jealous," because it is such a great thing. And he brought down Arnell Bryant, who's been with the Florida Bar's Diversity Initiative since its inception 7 years ago. And I'm so excited to tell you the reason they're here this year is because they're looking at making what we are doing here in Sarasota the state model. So We Are Sarasota is going to go statewide. We are so excited. So, thank you. So he's a great lawyer, but I told him, I'm not going to read your resume. You know, all I care about is that you support diversity and inclusion in our program. So, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Heiger.
Well, good evening. So I may be from out of town. I'm from Miami. But I have learned a couple things while I'm here, that if you want to get a big round of applause, you start out with 2 words, Booker High. And if you want to top that, then you just say, Dr. Shelley. So that's as good as it gets. It is a real privilege and honor to be the president of the Florida Bar, and it is even more of a privilege and honor to be with all of you today. I would be not very truthful if I told you that there is not injustice in this world. And it would also not be true if I told you that this world is colorblind, or that this world is gender neutral, because we all know that's just not true. And so at the Florida Bar, as Charlene said so well, we have made it a major initiative of our work to fight racial bias, gender bias, bias in any form. Because we know, right, that this is not a mission for one day, yesterday, tomorrow. This is a mission that you got to fight every single day. And here in Sarasota, what I've seen since the minute I got here this morning is that you folks are so incredibly committed to this initiative, And we are so proud to be a partner with you in that. So thank you very much. We look forward to working with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime. Welcome, Bill Partridge, our narrator.
Good evening. It's just my luck to follow the president of the Florida Bar. Like everyone has said here tonight, it is an honor to be here. For many of you, this is the second time that you have attended We Are Sarasota. Believe it or not, it was 6 years ago, and I was lucky enough to be one of the participants. But we have decided that the revival of We Are Sarasota is a result of a need and popular demand. People said, we didn't see it the last time, we'd like to see it again. And we believe that there's always a need for understanding, celebration of culture, diversity, and the importance of, this is the most important. What is that word we use tonight? Inclusion. The importance of inclusion of everybody, whether you're in the balcony or down here, what school you're in, who you are, the inclusion of everyone in our nation and our community. Now, how are we going to do this? As I think Mr. Matthews said, we're going to do it through multiple mediums. We're going to show how this nation and this Sarasota community has progressed to what it stands for today and what our country stands for, and that is a community that includes everybody, you, everybody. And it makes it a stronger community as a result. Now, some things are going to be painful tonight. This story is painful. A lot of parts of it. You'll hear things tonight where you'll say, in particular the younger students, did that really happen? Because it's that offensive in some ways. But they are lessons of our history and a journey through an ever-evolving law. And rather than a dry presentation that the lawyers out there, and I know there's a lot of you out there, and lawyers here behind the stage, will remember those horrible days in law school where we had to listen to case after case after case, and it was so dry, that we're doing it a little different tonight. We're going to do it in celebration form with some of the best celebrating people I know in this community, including Nate right here. And we're going to do it through song and dance and music and the spoken word and some powerful spoken words. And at the end of this performance, there's one thing that we want to combine into our thoughts, and that is that even though each one of you is an individual on this wonderful planet, that all together, who are we? We are Sarasota. Now, the history of inclusion in and of itself is the history of America. We all know that. You learned that in history. The hopes and dreams of all Americans are represented in the words, those two famous words, freedom and liberty. And where does freedom and liberty come from? Two unbelievable documents that no other country has. No other country has. And that's our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. Two powerful, powerful documents. And everything you hear tonight, that is the faith, the hope, the equality and justice that form the foundation of this country, are those shared values that should be self-evident. They're written in those documents, those two documents we talked about. Shouldn't that be self-evident? Unfortunately, they were all not always self-implemented, and that's what the history lesson tonight is about. They wound up having to be dependent upon the law itself, the interpretation of the law by judges in the courts, and the representation of the law through lawyers, judges, and more importantly, ordinary citizens like you in this room. And God, this is a beautiful room, by the way, and a beautiful crowd. The ordinary citizen makes up a strong part of this country, and it took extraordinary courage and extraordinary thought about what is right. This past week, a young African American by the name of James Shaw Jr. was sitting in a Waffle House when a gunman came in. He got behind the door, and when he had a chance, he grabbed an MR-15 automatic rifle by the barrel, jerked it out of his hand, and threw the man out into the street. When he was asked, and I don't know if y'all, I'm sure you saw him, the most humble, wonderful person you could ever see. When they asked him, I said, Shaw, why did you do that? You know what he said? It was the right thing to do. Abraham Lincoln kept a piece of paper on his desk in the White House. It said, quote, "Today I will do the right thing." That's what we all have to live by. And what you will see tonight is that in this country, in this community, there was a legal journey towards a more inclusive and diverse environment. It wasn't an easy road, and I'm proud to be your guide through this journey. So let's let the journey begin. Thank you.
Oh, let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions with nothing for their pay? For all the dreams we've dreamed, for all the songs we've sung, for all the hope we've held, for all the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for their pay, except a dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never was yet, and yet must be. The land where every man is free. The land that's mine. The poor man's, the Indians, the immigrants, me, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Oh yes, I say it plain. America was never America to me. And yet, I swear this oath, America will be. My name is Keith DuBose. I'm a partner in the law firm of Matthews Eastmore. I recently served as the first African-American president of the Sarasota County Bar Association, and I am Sarasota.
Sweet land of Dred Scott was a slave who had lived in the free state of Illinois and the free territory of Wisconsin before moving back to the slave state of Missouri. He appealed to the United States Supreme Court in hopes of being granted his freedom. Instead, in 1857, in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford, the United States Supreme Court declared that all blacks, regardless of whether they were slaves or free men, were not and could not become citizens of the United States. Chief Justice Roger Taney wrote in the court's majority opinion that the framers of the Constitution believed that those of African descent had no rights which the white man was bound to respect. While the Declaration of Independence declared that all men were created equal, Justice Taney stated, "The enslaved African race were not intended to be included and formed no part of the people who framed and adopted this declaration." It is from this sad starting point in our country's history that we begin our journey for inclusion. I am Circuit Judge Fred Mercurio. I am the judicial liaison to the Booker High School Law Academy, a 1977 graduate of Riverview High School, a graduate of Manatee Community College, and I am Sarasota.
Long before Rosa Parks refused to move to the back of a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, Homer Plessy refused to move to the blacks-only section of a railway car in Louisiana. Plessy was 7/8 white and 1/8 African American, and he visibly looked to be a white man to most all who did not know him. Plessy was arrested for violating Louisiana's Separate Streetcar Act. In 1896, the United States Supreme Court ruled that Louisiana's Separate Car Act did not violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And while the majority opinion did not use the exact phrase separate but equal, that was the concept that it sanctioned. According to the court, the United States Constitution guaranteed legal equality, but not social equality. It should also be noted that in the lone dissent, Justice John Marshall Harlan wrote, "Our Constitution is colorblind and neither knows nor tolerates classes among its citizens." Separate but equal would be the law of the land for the next half century up through the 1950s. It was in this era that Sarasota's communities of Overtown and Newtown were formed and settled. It was also the age of segregated schools and where Emma Booker lit the light of education for the Black community in Sarasota. I am Circuit Court Judge Rochelle Curley, and I am Sarasota.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I'll become. The further you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh, something inside so strong. Oh, there's something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Your lies will come tumbling. Deny my place in time. You squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so bright that it will blind you. Because something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, and you thought that my pride was gone. Oh, there's something inside so strong. Oh,
One, 13 African-American parents of 20 Kansas students filed suit in federal court against the City of Topeka Board of Education. One of the parents, Oliver Brown, and his daughter Linda, who was 9 years old and in third grade, were the lead plaintiffs in the case. Their case was joined with others, and their dispute found their way to the highest court in the land. Now, the case of Plessy versus Ferguson, decided by the Supreme Court in 1896, had been the law in all states for over 70 years. The Browns and their fellow plaintiffs said the Plessy decision, which allowed educational facilities to remain segregated between the races as long as the black schools were equal to the white schools, had failed. They argued, in reality, the Plessy decision had resulted in African Americans receiving inferior books, schools, and services. And this was perpetuating illiteracy and driving black students out of the economic opportunities that come with a respectable and quality education. And on May the 17th, 1954, Chief Justice Earl Warren announced the unanimous decision of the court, and in the process, discarded forever the concept that blacks and whites should be schooled differently. The court said, quote, "We conclude that in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal had no place. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. Therefore, we hold that the plaintiffs and others similarly situated by reasons of segregation are deprived of the equal protection of the laws guaranteed by the 14th Amendment." This decision, though it dealt with unequal treatment in education, started the dominoes of pernicious racial discrimination and prejudice to start falling in all aspects of American life, including here in Sarasota. I know this because as a child of the 50s, I was a witness to the change, which was long, too long overdue. I'm Senior Judge Lee Hayworth, born at Sarasota Memorial, and I am Sarasota.
On March 2nd, 1960, 11 people of color walked into a Woolworth's Five and Dime on Ringling Boulevard in Sarasota, Florida.
An old lady at the end of the counter looked up, stared at them suspiciously. They went back to her cup of coffee in Danish.
Many people just stopped and stared.
Some customers got up and left the store.
The waitress did nothing. Didn't offer a menu, didn't pour a glass of water or a cup of coffee. Didn't even wipe the counter.
Then she gave the little old white lady a refill on her coffee.
The little old white lady slid some coins on the counter, slid her cup and saucer out of the way, looked at the waitress and said, "No tip."
Then she looked at the folks on the counter and said, "I wish you'd done this 10 years ago." Yes. Then she left.
A store manager put up a sign that read,
"Lunch counter closed for the safety of our customers."
The 11 did not budge. They ordered 11 cups of coffee at 9 a.m.
At 5 p.m. closing time, they had still not been served.
The next morning,
they came back again, 100 strong, and flooded the lunch counter.
Dime store. Time for a sit-in.
Dime store. Time for a sit-in.
Time for a sit-in. Time for a sit-in. Time for some change. Time for a sit-in. Time for a sit-in. Time for some change. Time find out at the end. Though some may say my face is fading, I got plenty of time and money to spend on a couple cups of coffee for me and my friends. A cup of coffee, like a piece of blueberry pie.
Black and blue, that's what I'm gonna do. I got a pocket full of change so I can buy time for some change. Any nickel dime, time for some change. Any nickel dime, time for some change. Any nickel dime, time for some change.
My skin is brown, my money is green. What color is yours? When I put it down, what it does
Means I'm worth as much as you when I walk through those doors.
I've been dying, ain't a crime. Not while I'm around.
When it's closing time at the 5 and 10. Tomorrow morning I'll be back again. Next time I'll bring all my friends. Counterpoint, make a point here at the counter. Counterpoint in this joint where we encounter. Counterpoint, here's the point, there ain't no announcer. Time for change. A cup of coffee black.
With a free refill, a piece of pie.
Will you coming back until the day we are welcome? One day we know we will. The time for change will
Hundreds of students, civil rights organizations, churches, and members of the community all joined together in a 6-month-long protest. Ultimately, their efforts desegregated the F.W. Woolworth lunch counter on July 5th, 1960.
Do we have a talented community or what? Let's give them another round of applause. As we saw from the words that were spoken here, every journey has a starting place. In those three seminal cases, the Scott, the Plessy, and the Brown case, opened the door and laid a legal foundation for other citizens, moving forward the goal of equality and freedom. And as the 50s and 60s came along, just like this song talked about, the law and the courts began to fortify and for the first time institutionalize the many freedoms that we take for granted today. The movement extended from a small group or a select group to all citizens, as we shall now see.
Beginning in the 1800s, women organized, petitioned, and picketed for the right to vote, but it took them decades to accomplish their purpose. Between 1878, when the amendment was first introduced in Congress, and 1920, when it was ratified, women and men, all supporters, worked tirelessly, but the strategies varied. Many protested and marched. Many sought change through the courts. Supporters met fierce resistance. Some of it was physical. Many were beaten and jailed. On May 21st, 1919, the House of Representatives passed the amendment, and 2 weeks later, the Senate followed. Changing the face of the electorate forever, women now had the right to vote. I am Jennifer Compton, a partner in the law firm of Shoemaker, Lupin, Kendrick. I am the immediate past chair of Girls Incorporated, an organization in this community that teaches all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. And I am Sarasota.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 is one of the landmark civil rights and labor laws in the United States. It outlaws discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It also prohibited unequal application of voter registration requirements, racial segregation in schools, employment, and public accommodations. Sex discrimination, or specifically discrimination against women, was added to the bill at the last minute by those who thought this would defeat the bill. It did not. And the act was signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson on July 2nd, 1964. I am Dr. James Stewart. I'm the president of the Minnesota branch, the largest branch of ASALH, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, and I am Sarasota.
Title IX is a portion of the United States Education Amendments of 1972. It states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation or be denied the benefits or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Now, before Title IX, most girls and young women were denied opportunities to train and study in the fields considered inappropriate for them. Limits were placed on their academic and athletic ceilings by many educational institutions. Those academic and athletic roadblocks prevented many women from competing in many athletic activities that we take for granted today, and closed off academic careers for women who were interested in the careers in science, law, medicine, and engineering. Because of Title IX, schools and colleges can no longer effectively deny women access to their choices in athletics and academics. I am Christina Uncle. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Malio, Christopher & Toll. I am a Stetson Law graduate. I am a FIFA international and professional soccer referee. I serve on the board of the one and only Women's Sports Museum, and I am Sarasota.
More than 20 years ago, Jim Oberfell and John Arthur fell in love in Cincinnati, Ohio, a place where gay men and women lived in fear of being arrested and fired from their jobs. When the Supreme Court ruled in 2013 that the federal government had to provide married same-sex couples all the benefits offered to all legally recognized couples, Jim and John, who was dying from ALS, flew to Maryland, where same-sex marriage was legal, and exchanged vows on the airport tarmac. But back home, Ohio refused to recognize their union, and they learned that John's death certificate would describe him as single. When John passed away, Jim would not only mourn a devoted partner, but would be denied the acknowledgement of the life they had shared. The U.S. Supreme Court case of Oberfell v. Hodges, decided on June 26, 2015, requires all states to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples and to recognize same-sex marriages. This decision legalized same-sex marriages throughout the United States. I am Chip Gaylor, a partner in the law firm of Muirhead, Gaylor & Steves. I'm president of the Sarasota County Bar Association, proud graduate of Venice High School, 1982. I am a gay man. I am currently planning my wedding to the wonderful Bryla Burbo. And I am Sarasota.
Good morning or evening, friends. Here's your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster, could change your joy and laughter to tears and pain. It's that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away, because hate's gone around breaking many hearts. Won't you stop it, please, before it goes too far, far. Ooh, yeah, yeah, ooh. The force of evil plans to make you its possession, and it will, if we let it, destroy everybody. We all must take precautionary measures. If love and peace you treasure, then hear me when I say love's in need of love today. Don't delay. Send yours in right away. There's so much hate going around, breaking, sad it's breaking many hearts. Won't you stop it, please, before it goes too far? Because love's in need of love today. Don't you delay, don't delay. Send yours in right away. We need it, because hate's going round, breaking so very many hearts.
Just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? The story of the civil rights movement and the move to include all that we talk about tonight cannot be told without acknowledging, thank you, all the special people who participated. You always count on Nate to take care of you. Rich, poor, black, white, all colors, all nationalities, ethnicities, men and women who gained their rights, some famous, some unheralded, but whose courage, voices, and actions have enriched all of us. We've all benefited from it. They were the heroes of the civil rights movement, and there were many that we can't all name, but tonight we would like to honor a representative few of those.
After John F. Kennedy was elected president in November of 1960, he named Robert Kennedy as America's 64th Attorney General. In his role, Kennedy advocated for the civil rights of African Americans. In the fall of 1962, he sent federal troops to Oxford, Mississippi, to enforce a United States Supreme Court order admitting the first African American student, James Meredith, to the University of Mississippi. The state segregationist governor, Ross Barnett, had attempted to bar Meredith, whose enrollment prompted riots and violence at the school. Years later, on the night of April 4th, 1968, after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., it was then presidential candidate Robert Kennedy who gave the news of King's death and helped calm the crowd, preventing violence at an appearance in Indianapolis, Indiana, reminding the crowd that his brother had also been killed by a white man. 2 months later, in Los Angeles, California, following a victory speech after winning the California primary, Robert Kennedy himself was assassinated. I am Herb Hoffman, a graduate of Pineview High School. I am a foundation member of the Boys and Girls Club of Sarasota, and I am president of the American Board of Trial Attorneys for Sarasota and Bradenton. I'm a partner of Morgan & Morgan, a firm that fights for justice for all people, and I am Sarasota.
The Latino movement emerged during the civil rights era with 3 distinct goals: the restoration of land rights, rights for farm workers, and educational reforms.
El movimiento latino nació en la era de los derechos civiles con 3 objetivos definidos: la restitución de las tierras, los derechos de los trabajadores agrícolas y las reformas educativas.
Prior to the 1960s, Latinos lacked any influence in the national political arena. That changed when the Mexican American Political Association worked to elect John F. Kennedy as president in 1960, establishing Latinos as a significant voting bloc.
Antes de los años 60, los latinos carecían de influencia en el ámbito político nacional. Cuando la Asociación México-Americana luchó para elegir al presidente John F. Kennedy en 1960, los latinos se convirtieron en un bloque electoral muy importante.
Latino activism and the beginning of a politically significant bloc of voters that politicians could no longer ignore led to changes, both legal and legislative, that benefited the entire Latino community and continue to benefit the nation today.
El activismo latino y su poder electoral no pudo ser ignorado por los políticos. Es así que se convierte en un movimiento electoral muy grande.
Now, the largest racial minority in the U.S., there is no denying the influence that Latinos have as a voting bloc.
Siendo la minoría racial más grande en los Estados Unidos, no se puede ignorar que los latinos se han convertido en una fuerza electoral importante.
The politics of immigration reform continue to make us a force that all politicians must reckon with as we go forward.
Las políticas de la reforma migratoria continúan impulsando a los latinos a convertirse en un grupo que tiene mucho poder electoral y no se puede ignorar su presencia mientras continuamos avanzando.
I am Alan Bettis, a lawyer with the Millard Law Firm. I'm a mock trial coach with the Booker High School mock trial team. I am a proud Mexican American, and I am Sarasota.
I am Luz Corcuera, Executive Director of Unidos Now, an organization committed to empowering the Latinos to achieve their American dream. I am a proud Latino American, and I am Sarasota.
Jews have had a tremendous impact on the modern civil rights movement. As activists, volunteers, and lawyers, many Jewish students left the comfort and security of colleges and universities in the 1960s to take part in a movement against oppression, hatred, and bigotry, something they knew and many of their parents knew who just a few decades earlier fled Germany from the oppression and persecution of the Nazis. Many Jews were well aware that their causes and struggles were inextricably interwoven with the struggles of African Americans to be accepted as full citizens in the United States. Michael Schwerner, a Jewish American civil rights activist, was one of the most despised civil rights workers in Mississippi. He volunteered to come to Mississippi to organize voter registration drives and boycotts against stores that discriminated against African Americans. As a result of these efforts, the KKK ordered his elimination at a meeting in May of 1964. On June 21st of that same year, Michael Schwerner and two of his friends, fellow organizers, James Chaney, who was African American, and Andrew Goodman, who, like Schwerner, was Jewish, were ambushed and murdered after being released from jail. In November of 2014, President Barack Obama awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our country's highest civilian honor, to the living relatives of these three civil rights volunteers. I am Michael Siegel. I am a lawyer with Schutz & Bowen. I am past president of my synagogue, Temple Sinai, and I am Sarasota.
Mildred Loving, a black woman, and Richard Loving, a white man, had been sentenced to a year in prison in Virginia for marrying each other. Their marriage violated Virginia's Racial Integrity Act of 1924, which prohibited marriage between people classified as white and people classified as colored under Virginia law. Given the opportunity by the Virginia courts to leave Virginia or face prison, the Lovings eventually and reluctantly chose to fight for their right to marry in the courts and became a test case to fight miscegenation laws.
The United States Supreme Court, in its unanimous landmark decision, Loving versus Virginia, stated, "Marriage is one of the basic civil rights of man, fundamental to our very existence and survival. To deny this fundamental freedom on such an unsupportable basis as the racial classifications embedded in these statutes is a denial of due process and equal protection. Distinctions drawn according to race are odious to a free people. Under our Constitution, the freedom to marry or not marry a person of another race cannot be infringed by the state."
I am Doris Johnson, a member of the Board of Directors of the West Coast Black Theater Troupe. I also hold the distinction of serving as president of the Bradenton, Sarasota, Florida chapter of the Links Incorporated, an international nonprofit women of color organization. I am African American, and I am Sarasota.
I am Stephen Walker. I am one of your circuit court judges. In 2003, a baby girl in Kathmandu, Nepal, forever changed and enriched my life. I am part of a diverse, adoptive, Nepali American family, and I am Sarasota.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed his faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea with the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me, as he died to make men holy. Let us die to make men free, while God is marching on. Oh yes.
In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. As he died, with the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. With the glory in his bosom, y'all. With the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free. His truth is marching on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. With the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. With the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. As he died.
Yes, he does. He does to make me holy. Let us not to make me free. Oh, his truth is marching on. Let me hear you say glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I got to give him praise. I gotta give him glory, glory, hallelujah. Yeah, glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Yeah, singing glory, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah. It's the highest praise. Glory, glory, hallelujah. It's true. His truth is marching on. One more time. Let me hear you say it. Glory, glory, hallelujah. We're singing for freedom, everybody. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Yeah. We singing glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory. His truth is marching on. His truth is freedom and justice is true. Yes, it is. It's marching on. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Nate. That song appropriately leads us into our final hero tonight, and I have the pleasure of talking about this hero. Frank M. Johnson, Jr. was a fellow native son of Alabama and a fellow graduate of the University of Alabama School of Law. He was a fearless federal judge, and his rulings, beginning at age 37, in the 1950s and 60s, helped end the era of segregated buses, parks, and restaurants. In the words of journalist and historian Bill Moyers, Judge Frank Johnson forever altered the face of the South. It was Judge Johnson, ironically a classmate of George Wallace's in 1942, who ruled in favor of Rosa Parks in 1956, shortly after he took the bench. It was not easy being Frank Johnson in Alabama. His rulings led to threats against him and his family and made him an outcast to many white citizens, particularly in the state capital of Montgomery. He had to play golf at the federal golf course because he couldn't play at the country club. During those troubled times, a cross was burned in his yard. I remember this. I was about 16 years old, about 50 miles away. Shortly after that, his mother's house was dynamited. They blew off the whole front porch and a portion of her living room. She refused to leave when the federal marshals came to make her go to a safe place. She said, "If I do, they win." Her name was Alabama Long Johnson, and she was as feisty as he was. George Wallace called him an integrating, carpetbagging, scalawagging, bald-faced liar, but it didn't bother him. He stayed steadfast in his belief that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights belonged to everyone, and he remained on the bench, and in 1995, he too was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by a fellow Southerner, Bill Clinton. Lastly, in And those of you who were here 6 years ago saw me do this. His favorite beverage was George Dickel. He drank Jack Daniels before that, but when it was bought by a Canadian company, he quit drinking it. He was a true American. When he was invited to social events, and he was invited to some, particularly weddings, he would make a toast to the bride and groom, but his most famous toast, with a shot of George Dickel, was to the greatest union there is, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I get to say it. I am Bill Partridge, the founding partner of Grossman, Roth & Partridge, which is a diverse law firm by the name, as you can tell. And even though I'm a native son of Alabama years ago, I am Sarasota.
Tonight, we learned about some national heroes of the civil rights movement. Sarasota had heroes. Dr. Edward James II was one of them. Sarasota lost its hero this spring. His wife, Helen, and children, Renee and Edward, are with us tonight. Someone said the greatest tragedy is not death, but life without purpose. Dr. James understood and embraced his purpose. The time, energy, and effort poured into fulfilling purpose with razor-sharp precision impacted our lives in ways that we're only beginning to process. He was and remains a giant and legend, a civil rights soldier. He resisted, refuted, and disputed policies, procedures, and laws that blocked equal opportunities and access to the marginalized and most vulnerable among us. In 1957, Dr. James led a protest with a group of his Booker High School classmates. They changed a McDonald's policy that required African Americans to be served at the restaurant's back door. His act of courage integrated Sarasota County libraries. He was the first African American to receive a library card to Sarasota's public libraries. Dr. James was born into a family of entrepreneurs, educators, and community leaders who used their influence and their connections for social change, and he followed that lead. He was a loud voice for change. He produced and covered social justice issues for over 40 years on ABC7's Black Almanac, the longest locally produced public affairs show on the Southeast. During his memorial service, held during one of the largest youth protests in history, his youngest son, Edward, said this: "We pass the baton to a generation that should be ready to work. It is very fitting that millions of people are marching for our lives." My father spent his 78 years marching for our lives. We too must march, mentor, motivate, model community service, and donate to move the needle of change. It is not by accident that we are here tonight. I'm Vicki Oldham of Newtown Alive, and I am Sarasota.
There's a train a-comin'. You don't need no ticket. You just get on board. All you need is faith to get the diesel humming. You don't need no baggage. You just thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord.
People get ready for the train to Jordan. It's picking up passengers from coast to coast. is the key, yeah. Open the doors and boredom. There's room for all those who love the most. I believe. Oh yeah. I believe. Do you believe? I believe. I do believe. There ain't no room for the hopeless sinner, who mistreat all mankind just to save his soul. Have pity on those whose patience grow thinner. There's room for more for those who love the most. There's nowhere to hide. Nowhere to hide. People get ready. There's a train a coming. Don't need no ticket. You just get on board. All you need is faith to get the diesel humming. Don't need no baggage. You just thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Oh, you just thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Yes, you do. I do believe. I believe.
As all of you know, Florida is a top retirement destination. Our beautiful Sarasota is nationally recognized as one of the best places in the United States to live and work. Like some of you, my husband Ed and I became Sarasota residents and voters after leading a productive life, living and working, raising a family in the Northeast. I've read that by the year 2025, 26% of all Florida residents will be 65 or older. We are senior citizens. We work and we are physically active. You know that many of us have the time and the energy to contribute to our community. We volunteer in the schools, in the libraries, hospitals, and we serve on boards of countless not-for-profit organizations.
But we too suffer discrimination, age discrimination. And that's why we, as we get older, will continue to strive and fight to demonstrate that we are still vibrant and that we are relevant to our communities.
I am Mary Lou Winnick. I am honored to serve as a member of the board of the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. I am a proud young senior citizen. I am Mary Lou Winnick, and I am Sarasota.
I was asked to be her contrast. My name is Norman Von Birch. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Kirk Pinkerton, established in 1926. I have practiced 50 years in this community, and I, too, am Sarasota.
Living with a disability and living with someone who has a disability, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, poses obstacles and sometimes hardship on both the family and the patient. I know firsthand the challenges that both the family and the person with disabilities face. Sarasota is fortunate to have Goodwill of Minnesota, a nonprofit organization who has as its mission changing lives through the power of work. This is my friend Dalton.
Okay. My name is Dalton. I am a person with a disability. Goodwill helped me with my job so I could take care of myself, and I am Sarasota.
I'm Colton Castro, a lawyer at the law firm of Williams Parker. I'm a member of the Bar Association Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and I am Sarasota.
Throughout history, women have sought ways to improve our community and our nation. Here in Sarasota, women lawyers have worked together to propel women lawyers into social, economic, and leadership spheres of power in order to make a difference and to change history. I am one of them. I am Alexis Rosenberg, a lawyer at Rosenberg Law. I am the president of Sarasota, Florida Association for Women Lawyers, and I am Sarasota.
There are still only 83 women serving in the U.S. House of Representatives and only 22 in the U.S. Senate. In the Florida legislature, 41 out of 160 seats are filled by women. But these are extraordinary times for women in America. Women from all walks of life in every state of the nation are taking part in groundbreaking movements aimed at elevating women's roles in society, ending discrimination and sexual harassment, and giving voice to those who have gone unheard for too long. And I am one of them. I am a lawyer at the law firm of Matthews Eastmore, and your state representative from Florida House District 72. My name is Margaret Good, and I am Sarasota.
The Jewish community in Sarasota is proud of its history of activism and community engagement. We remember our struggles and our fight with prejudice. We stand by our brothers and sisters who today face discrimination and continue the fight for acceptance and inclusion. I am Scott Westheimer. I'm a partner at the law firm of Seipert Meshad. I am also the 12th Circuit representative for the Florida Bar Board of Governors. I'm a proud member of the Sarasota Jewish community, and I am Sarasota.
There are nearly 4.5 million Hispanics who live in Florida. They contribute to 23% of the total state population. They are 12% of the population of Sarasota.
Hemos estado en esta área por muchas generaciones, contribuyendo a esta economía en empleos tan variados como la construcción, negocios, el sector hotelero y de comida, la agricultura, la salud y las leyes.
The Hispanic community continues to fight for acceptance as they deal with immigration, wages, and environmental issues that affect the health and economic well-being of those who work, bringing food to our tables.
Estamos orgullosos de nuestro país y orgullosos de nuestra contribución a la vez que continuamos en la lucha por justicia.
My name is Rudy Vazmina. I'm an elder law attorney. I'm a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee of the Sarasota County Bar Association. I am Sarasota.
And I am Mari Carmen Romero Vazmina. I'm a Florida Supreme Court certified civil and family mediator, a court interpreter, a medical interpreter. I am a proud Puerto Rican American, and I am Sarasota.
Sarasota Memorial Hospital, our public hospital, recognize that equal access to quality health care is essential to make a community great. This past year, the Florida State University Internal Medicine Residency Program at Sarasota Memorial Hospital opened its practice in Newtown to address the medical needs of this community.
In the past year, we've been able to provide medical services and information for hundreds of patients in the community. When Florida State University and Sarasota Memorial Hospital decided to create an internal medicine program, they sought out internal medicine residents that were passionate and dedicated to eliminating health disparities within underserved communities. So I was honored to be chosen as one of the first members of the internal medicine program here in Sarasota. I am Dr. Eccles James, a proud internal medicine resident physician at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. I am African and African American, and I am Sarasota.
I'm Wilhelmina V. Saromich, founding director of the Internal Medicine Residency Program. I'm a proud internist, Dominican American, and I am Sarasota.
While on the Sarasota City Commission, I succeeded in getting health care benefits for domestic partners of city employees. Since leaving the City Commission, I have worked to improve LGBT protections in housing, employment, and public accommodations. I've worked in the cities of Sarasota, Venice, Northport, Punta Gorda, and Cape Coral. Currently, I'm working to create a ban on conversion therapy, a fraudulent practice purporting to change gay people into straight people. I represent Equality Florida. Equality Florida is the largest LGBT advocacy organization in the state of Florida with 300,000 members. I am Ken Sheelan. My partner of 41 years and I were married 3 years ago in a ceremony organized by Charlie Ann Cypret and performed by Judge Charles Williams, his first same-sex marriage. We now enjoy all the rights and privileges that any married couple enjoys in the United States. I am Sarasota!
Only 1 month after the tragic shootings at Parkland High School, over 800 groups marched in cities across America and the world, and thousands of students across our nation walked out of class to honor the 17 students who lost their lives and to make sure the calls for change were answered. Locally, students at Sarasota, Booker, Pineview, Venice, Northport, and Riverview High Schools did the same. This was not a moment. This was the beginning of a movement. There are 43,000 students in Sarasota County schools, and we have a voice. The hashtag Never Again movement is about what's next, and we are the next history makers. My name is Lauren Yanari. I'm a 12th grade student at Pineview School, and I am Sarasota.
The NAACP is the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in the United States. In Sarasota, this organization was instrumental in integrating the city's beaches, restaurants, and public facilities. The leadership understood the famous maximum, until all is free, none is free. I'm a native born to Sarasota, and I can tell you now more than ever, we must continue to join together for the fight of equality and justice. I am Trevor Harvey, the president of the Sarasota County branch of the NAACP, and I am Sarasota.
We are Sarasota! Come on, everybody. Stand on your feet. Put your hands together. Take a good look around. And if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. Think of your fellow man. Lend him a helping hand. Put a little love in your heart.
And the world will be a better place. The world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see.
Another day goes by and still the children cry. Put a little love in your heart. I hope will you decide kindness will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart. Yeah, yeah.
And the world will be a better place. The world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see.
Put a little love in your heart. Yeah, yeah. Put a little love in your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart. Another day goes by and still the children cry. Put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart.
And the world will be a better place. The world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see.
Put a little love in your heart.
One more choir, let me hear you.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love.
Put a little love in your heart.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart, yeah.
Put a little love in your heart.
Yeah.